Hi, my name is Michael Grandi, and I am Vice President of Operations with Jersey Memorial Group. I am a funeral director. I've been a funeral director for 26 years, and Jersey Memorial Group operates 15 locations, 12 in New Jersey, 3 in Pennsylvania. And what I'm here to talk about today is an overview and answering some questions about pre-planning. It's a topic that many folks have questions about, but normally you don't pick up the phone, you don't contact your funeral director to ask questions. Obviously, it's not a subject most people want to talk about. But at Jersey Memorial Group, we do a lot of outreach, we do a lot of community speaking, lunch and learns, and today wanted to share some of that insight. So when it comes to questions, there's usually 5 major questions that people ask, and some are related to an actual passing. When somebody walks into a funeral home and they have experienced a loss and they're sitting down with a funeral director. We like to address a lot of these things now because when people do have that conversation and talk about pre-planning, they're usually making the best possible decisions because they're making one, with their mind and not with their heart or emotionally. So the first question that people ask is, what is a pre-arrangement or what is pre-planning? Pre-planning is basically sitting down with a funeral director, asking some questions, documenting your wishes. And what does that mean? Wishes can be, do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? Would I like some type of religious service? If so, are there preferences on how I want that to be? Certain scripture readings, hymns, or music. It could be something as simple as what information you want in your obituary, providing information to us on a death certificate, because many times families may not know a social security number or a mother's maiden name or some of the information that would appear on a death certificate. So we get a lot of these questions out of the way when we sit down. There's also the selection of merchandise. We can pick out caskets, we can pick out memorial folders, service cards, flower selections. When we sit down with a consumer, we really treat this as if we are sitting down in an actual situation where a death has occurred. And that way we can cover a lot of those questions. Next question is, why should you consider it? I think everyone should have a pre-arrangement. I'm on both sides. I sit down with families that have experienced a loss. And like I mentioned earlier, you're making the best possible decisions when you're not making them under duress, when you're not making them in a stressful environment, or maybe when you're dealing with emotion and the phone's ringing and people are asking you when services may be taking place. So having that conversation is always, the best thing. I sit down with families all the time and their children sit around a table like this and they look at each other and say, do you know what mom wanted? Do you know what dad wanted? They don't know those answers, and now they're guessing based on what they think that you may want. And are they going to question their decisions later on or wonder if they did the right thing? So that's why having that conversation is always best. I already talked about, and the other question is, how do we do this? We do this in the funeral home setting. We do this in the privacy of your own home. Everybody thinks that they have to pick up the phone and make an appointment and walk into a funeral home. And a funeral home can be a place where people feel uncomfortable. Maybe it's a reminder of a previous service that you had or some other thing that makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you don't want to go in a casket selection room to take a look at caskets. So we could come to the home. With technology today, we can work digitally. We can show you things on a screen. We could collect information. We can build and price things in real time as if you were making an arrangement. So of course, you can figure out what your budget is, because that is always a big concern and a question that people, ask a lot, is how much are these things going to cost? We see now with the rate of inflation how much things are increasing with the things in our daily lives. Funerals are also not immune from some of those things, and they will increase as time goes on. So we want consumers to be very budget conscious. We don't want consumers to overspend on something that they may not need, especially if they're making a decision based on emotion. So that's why having these conversations really make things a lot easier. The other question is, how do I pay for it? You know, this is a big one. You can pay several different ways. In New Jersey, you are allowed to fund a funeral with a trust account, an annuity account, or a life insurance policy. Now, why are those the three forms of payment? When you come in to sit down with a funeral director and do a prepayment, you can't purchase anything and I can't provide you with anything. So they want your money set aside for future use in an interest-bearing account where that money will stay. It's protected, stays in your name, and in the future, that money would be used and it's portable. You take it wherever you go. So if you retire and move to Florida, or for some reason you're in a different location in New Jersey, you can walk into any funeral home and state that you prepaid a service, and all they would have to do is provide a death certificate and a copy of an invoice showing that they rendered service to get that payment and render those services. The other thing is price guarantees. This is very important to people. You know, I pay now in 2024. What happens in 2034? Funerals are going to be a lot more. When you prepay a funeral and you put those monies away in one of the vehicles that I had stated, the annuity, the trust, or the life insurance, you will get a price guarantee stating that those fees are not going to go up. How that works is, at the time that we do render services, whatever is in that account and whatever interest has compounded over those years would be provided to us to offset those fees. Whatever's left over, if any, we would basically write off for the consumer. So the next steps basically are reaching out to your funeral home or funeral director, sitting down and having the conversation. Most funeral homes, including all of our locations, have a very easy online pre-planning tab on their websites that give you the ability to fill out a bunch of information that gets provided to us digitally. We can then make contact with you and begin the next steps of having the conversation. Could be answering questions over the phone, and it could be even emailing you information that is going to make you better prepared. So in order to reach out to me, you can contact me at 732-566-5300. That's for my funeral home in Morganville, New Jersey. That's my main location, but I am available throughout the state of New Jersey, and I cover all counties. I would be happy to sit down or just answer some questions. Information is free and there's no obligation. Our website is www.jerseymemorial.com.